Have you ever stopped to consider that, after a certain age, traveling might do more harm than good? As the years go by, the idea of exploring new places may still sound exciting, even nostalgic. But what many older adults, like Mrs. Helen or Mr. Bruce, don't realize is that, after the age of 65, traveling comes with hidden risks and challenges, ones that often only show up when the body and mind are already stretched thin. Now, this doesn't mean you have to stop seeking new experiences. It simply means looking at your current reality with honesty and kindness, understanding what your body and mind can still handle, and what they quietly can't anymore. In today's video, we're going to talk about 5 important reasons why traveling later in life might not be the best idea right now. We'll explore hidden health risks as well as emotional impacts that often go unnoticed, but can make a big difference in your overall well-being. The goal here isn't to scare anyone, it's to open your eyes to things no one really talks about, but that truly matter if you want to live with more ease, safety, and joy. And if you've been feeling unsure about your next trip, maybe these signs will explain why. Stick with me to the end, because we won't just talk about the risks, we'll reflect together on real, meaningful, and accessible ways to continue finding joy, comfort, and fulfillment at this stage of life, without the hassle of airports or heavy suitcases. Let's get started. Number 1. Weakened immune system and exposure to unfamiliar germs. One of the most overlooked, but truly important, dangers of traveling in old age is how vulnerable your immune system becomes in new environments. At home, with your familiar routine, your body might feel stable and strong. But the moment you step into an airport, a hotel, or a tour bus, you're suddenly surrounded by a mix of viruses, bacteria, and fungi that your body hasn't faced in years, or maybe ever. When we were younger, our immune systems could fight off almost anything. But after 60, the response changes. What might seem like just a sore throat can quickly turn into bronchitis, or worse, pneumonia, and what was supposed to be a peaceful holiday could end in a hospital stay. Take Mr. Colin, 81, who went on a cruise with his daughter to celebrate his birthday. On the 3rd day, he felt a slight tickle in his throat. Nothing major, he thought, but the enclosed ship, the recycled air, and buffet-style meals triggered a chest infection that sent him to a hospital via emergency helicopter. What should have been a cherished memory turned into weeks of recovery and exhaustion. And it's not just about germs. Altitude changes, sleepless nights, unfamiliar food, questionable tap water, they all impact your immunity. Your skin becomes more sensitive, your gut reacts differently, your sinuses flare up more easily, and often the symptoms don't show up right away. By the time they do, you might already be far from home, without your regular doctor, your usual routine, or the energy you once had. This isn't about living in fear, but it is about recognizing that what's a minor risk for someone in their 30s can become a serious challenge for someone over 60, especially if you're managing chronic conditions or take medications that further weaken your defenses. Staying home doesn't mean isolating yourself from the world. Often it's a way of caring for yourself more intentionally. You control your environment, you eat well, you sleep better, you stay in rhythm. And at this stage of life, when every ounce of energy matters, protecting your health shouldn't be a gamble. Traveling might once have meant adventure, but maybe today, the greatest adventure is listening to what your body is telling you and honoring that with wisdom and care. Number 2. Long trips increase the risk of blood clots and poor circulation. It's something few people truly understand until it happens to them. Long journeys can become a serious health risk for older adults. Sitting still for extended periods, especially on planes, buses, or long car rides, can significantly affect your blood circulation, and this danger often goes unnoticed until the warning signs appear. When we're young, we might sleep in a cramped seat or cross our legs for hours and just walk away with a stiff back. But after 70, the body changes. Blood flows more slowly, veins lose elasticity, and the risk of developing deep vein thrombosis, dangerous blood clots in the legs that can travel to the lungs, increases dramatically, especially when we stay still for too long. This isn't theory or exaggeration. It happens more often than we think, even to those who take all the right precautions. Take Mr. Allen, 78, who flew 6 hours to attend his grandson's graduation. During the flight, he got up and walked around, stayed hydrated, wore compression socks. He did everything right. But 2 days after arriving, he began to feel tightness in his chest and sudden shortness of breath. He was rushed to the hospital, where doctors discovered a clot had formed during the flight and had moved into his lungs. Thankfully, he received treatment in time, but what was meant to be a joyful family trip turned into a medical emergency. And here's the irony. The problem wasn't physical overexertion, it was staying still for too long. Many seniors, due to stiff joints, limited mobility, or even just feeling self-conscious, don't move as often as they should during travel, and there's more. The pressure changes inside planes, natural dehydration while traveling, and even anxiety about flying all create the perfect storm for circulatory complications. This applies to long car rides too. Hours in the same seat, few stops, little to no stretching. It all restricts blood flow. The warning signs might take time to appear: swollen ankles, heavy legs, that strange tight feeling in the chest. But by then, you're already far from home, without your usual tests, your trusted GP, or the comfort of your own bed. Circulation problems at this stage of life demand special attention. Your body doesn't handle these challenges like it used to. If you've had heart issues, high blood pressure, or any past surgeries, your risks multiply. We're not saying travel is wrong. We're saying that listening to your body's new limits is essential. If your blood doesn't flow well, you won't flow well either, at least not for long. So before you plan your next destination, think about the journey your body has to make inside that plane, car, or coach. Sometimes, choosing to stay where you are isn't a sign of giving up. It's a decision that protects your health, your peace, and your future. Number 3. Interrupted medication and lack of medical support. One of the most overlooked dangers of traveling in later life is how easily a trip can quietly throw your medication routine off track, and with it, your overall health stability. What feels simple at home, taking your pills at the right time with the right meal in a familiar environment, can unravel in a matter of hours. A change in time zone, a delayed dinner, or simply forgetting where you packed your medication. And suddenly the risk begins, and it doesn't take a major mistake. Sometimes just taking your heart medication a few hours late, or missing a single dose of your blood thinner, is enough to throw your body off balance for days, even weeks. Take Mr. Robert, 76, who flew from Perth to Sydney to visit his grandchildren. On the second day of the trip, his schedule was all over the place: late lunch, unfamiliar bedtimes, and without realizing, he took his diabetes medication at the end of the night instead of earlier in the day. That small slip-up led to dizziness, fatigue, and confusion, symptoms that could easily be mistaken for something more serious. And that's the real problem. When your health suddenly changes during a trip, it's much harder to tell whether there's a minor hiccup or a genuine emergency. At home, you can call your trusted GP, someone who knows your history, understands your medications, and recognizes how your body tends to react. But when you're away, you may have to rely on urgent care centers, unfamiliar doctors, different systems, or worse, guesswork based on generic protocols. Even with a good travel insurance plan, nothing compares to the peace of mind of being in a place where you're known, where your records are readily available and your doctor knows your name. And there's another risk: running out of your medication altogether. Medications can be misplaced in airports, forgotten at hotels, or simply unavailable at local pharmacies, even across different states here in Australia. For those who take ongoing prescriptions for high blood pressure, arrhythmia, thyroid issues, or insulin, missing a single dose can mean more than discomfort. It could be the difference between being stable and needing emergency care. Taking your medication isn't just a habit, it's a structure that supports your life. And when a trip knocks that structure out of place, your body is left vulnerable. The truth is, the freedom to travel should never come at the cost of your health foundation. So before you book that ticket or start packing, ask yourself, am I truly prepared to manage my health far from home, without the support system I rely on? Because after 70, even a few days of disruption can leave lasting effects. It's not about being fragile. It's about recognizing that your health has become too valuable to risk, and acknowledging that that's not fear, that's wisdom. Number 4, emergency care, less accessible and more risky. When we're young, traveling with a bit of risk is part of the adventure. But after 70, even a small health issue can turn into something serious. And when you're away from home, the outcome often depends less on your will and more on the local healthcare system. Unfortunately, when traveling, access to emergency care is almost never straightforward. Whether you're in another state or country, finding quick, reliable, and appropriate care can become a real challenge. Think about it. What if you faint in the lobby of a hotel or feel chest pain on a sightseeing bus? Who will speak for you? If you're unconscious, will the doctors at that location have access to your medical history? Will they know what medications you take, your allergies, or your most recent test results? Even with an experienced team, they might make decisions that are different from what your trusted doctor would make, not because of error, but because they simply don't know you. That's what happened to Mrs. Margaret, 83. During a cruise in the Pacific, she fell on a cobblestone street and fractured her hip. The nearest hospital was over an hour away. When she arrived, the language barrier was an issue. Her insurance didn't help much. Her daughter, who stayed in Australia, couldn't even speak with the doctors. What could have been a straightforward procedure back home turned into a drama. A confusing hospital stay, difficult repatriation, and a recovery filled with stress. Even in countries with excellent healthcare systems, wait times can be unpredictable. Paperwork is confusing, and the quality of care might be very different from what you're used to. Insurance might cover the costs, but it doesn't provide the nurse you're familiar with, the doctor who knows you, or the pharmacy that understands your needs. The problem is that, in older age, most emergencies aren't major accidents. They're subtle symptoms, a sudden dizziness, blood sugar levels out of whack, changing breathing patterns, confusion from being in an unfamiliar place. These signs can be easy to overlook, and by the time someone notices, the window for safe action may already be closing. Before you embark on a long trip, ask yourself, is it worth being so far from home when your body might need places, people, and systems that really know you? No landscape, no matter how beautiful, is worth the cost of facing a medical emergency alone without support. Number 5, emotional exhaustion and the loss of familiar grounding. Travel is often romanticized as a synonym for joy, freedom, and discovery. But what rarely gets talked about, especially for those over 70, is the emotional toll travel can take in a silent way. New places are full of stimuli. At first this seems positive, but for many older adults it can cause disorientation, mess with their internal clock, and wear down emotional resilience more quickly than expected. There's a deep need to maintain certain routines, to be near familiar places and faces, and when this is lost, what remains isn't always excitement. Sometimes it's confusion, loneliness, or an uncomfortable feeling that's hard to explain. Take the case of Mr. Bill, 79. He'd always dreamed of visiting Kakadu National Park and finally made the trip. But by the 3rd day, he was already feeling irritable and having trouble sleeping in the hotel bed. He missed his morning walk around the block, the food his stomach tolerated well, the sense of control. When his daughter asked if he was enjoying it, he smiled and said yes. But inside he was counting the days until he could go home. What tired him wasn't the landscape. It was the loss of routine, comfort, the feeling of being understood. We often underestimate how much our well-being depends on simple things. The chair where we have our coffee, the radio that always plays the same songs, the bathroom light switch we turn on in the dark without thinking. These aren't just quirks, they're emotional anchors. Travel interrupts all of this. And after decades of building a life that fits like a glove, wearing a foreign outfit, even for just a few days, can be exhausting. It's even harder when there's pressure to keep up with children or grandchildren, to smile despite discomfort, just to avoid worrying anyone. That emotional effort can weigh more than any luggage. And when we return, the recovery isn't just physical, it's spiritual. It's the slow process of regaining balance, of letting the body and mind return to center. But that doesn't mean you've become rigid or unwilling. it means you've grown wiser. You understand the value of peace, routine, and emotional security. It's no longer necessary to travel the world to prove that life is full. Often, a walk around the neighborhood, a loving phone call, or a meal cooked 100 times brings more joy than a trip that will be forgotten in a week. Staying home isn't about giving up on life. It's about listening to your own body. It's heeding the silent wisdom that knows the difference between adventure and anxiety, and that wisdom deserves all our respect. Conclusion. If you've made it this far, it's because you take your health and well-being seriously, and that's already a step ahead. Today we talked about 5 reasons to reconsider travel after 70. The impact on the immune system, circulation risks, medication challenges, emergency care, and the emotional weight of leaving behind the familiar. These points aren't exaggerations. They're lived truths by many people and deserve your reflection. Aging isn't about stopping exploration, but knowing when and how to protect what matters most. Sometimes saying no to a trip is the greatest act of self-love. It's saying yes to peace. You've earned the right to prioritize comfort, stability, and tranquility. Staying grounded today might be the wisest move you've ever made. Whatever your choice, whether to stay or go, may it be made with awareness, planning, and much respect for your limits. And now I want to hear from you. What touched you most in this video? Share in the comments what you've learned and how this can change the way you care for yourself. Your comment is a gift to us. It motivates our work and helps us continue bringing content that informs and inspires. Like the video, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next ones. And always remember, Elder Journey, caring for every step along the way.